Amira Khan was a nurse with dreams bigger than the crowded hospital where she spent her days, unaware that a single comment on Facebook would change her life forever. Sheikh Rashid Al Mansour, a powerful man living amidst Dubai's glittering towers, noticed her words and became obsessed with controlling the story she had begun to write online. What started as admiration quickly turned into danger, and Amira's hope for a better future collided with a world of secrets, power, and deadly consequences she could never have imagined. Within just a month of meeting him, her life spiraled into a nightmare, proving that in the digital age, even a single post can seal a fate. Amira Khan was 29 and had spent most of her adult life in the fluorescent-lit corridors of a crowded Karachi hospital. She was known for her calm presence and steady hands, the kind of nurse patients trusted instantly. But behind her composed smile, she carried exhaustion and longing. Long hours, low pay, and little recognition left her feeling invisible, and the endless routine made her crave something more. Whenever she found a spare moment, she scrolled through Facebook, using it as her window to a world that felt out of reach. On her profile, she often shared small pieces of her life, photos of tea with colleagues, reflections about her shifts, or quotes about hope and patience. Her words weren't dramatic, but they were honest, and they resonated with the friends who followed her. One evening, a childhood friend posted vacation pictures from Dubai, with golden beaches and glittering skyscrapers in the background. Amira left a casual comment. One day, I'll live there too. She didn't think twice about it, but the comment stood out. For Amira, Dubai symbolized a dream, stability, wealth, and freedom from the constant financial pressure her family faced. She imagined herself walking through spacious malls instead of crowded markets, working in sleek hospitals instead of dim wards, and living a life where her effort was rewarded. What she didn't know was that her words had traveled further than she intended. In the vast sea of profiles, photos, and passing comments, her post had caught the eye of someone who lived in Dubai's glittering towers. Someone who wasn't looking for a nurse, but for something else entirely. The man who noticed Amira's post was Sheikh Rashid Al Mansour, a name whispered in Dubai's elite circles. He was in his early 40s, wealthy beyond measure, and used to people bending under his influence. Online, his presence was carefully crafted. Pictures of luxury cars gleaming in private garages, sprawling villas with marble floors, and evenings spent on yachts that cut through the Gulf waters like silver blades. To most, his account looked like a curated dream. To Amira, it seemed almost unreal. When Rashid first liked one of her posts, she was surprised. A stranger of his stature, noticing her words felt like a mistake. But soon, he followed her updates, sending her silent approvals with each like. His profile had thousands of followers, yet his attention seemed fixed on her. Slowly, curiosity replaced hesitation. She clicked through his photos, staring at the kind of life she had only imagined from afar. A week later, Rashid sent her a private message. It was short, polite, and oddly formal, but it carried weight because of who he was. He had seen her comment about Dubai, he wrote, and he admired her ambition. The message was unlike the usual hollow compliments she often received online. It felt deliberate, almost calculated, as though he had chosen his words to draw her in. For Amira, the timing seemed almost fated. She had recently been selected for a short medical training program in Dubai, a rare opportunity she had worked hard for. Rashid, upon learning this, suggested they meet in person. The idea thrilled and unsettled her at once. She didn't yet realize that this was not chance, but the beginning of a dangerous pull into a world where every move was watched. Amira arrived in Dubai with her training group, her heart racing at the sight of glass towers piercing the sky. The city was brighter, faster, and more polished than anything she had known. While her colleagues focused on lectures and workshops, she found herself distracted, wondering about the meeting she had agreed to. Rashid had promised it would be discreet, just a quiet dinner where they could talk. Their first meeting was nothing like she imagined. Rashid appeared in a tailored suit, his presence commanding yet calm. He greeted her with an air of familiarity, as though they had known each other for years. The restaurant was private, hidden away from the bustle of tourists. A table was waiting, already set for two. To Amira, it felt surreal, like stepping into a movie. During dinner, Rashid was charming but strangely intense. He asked about her childhood, her family, even her financial worries. When she spoke about her struggles, he leaned in, offering promises of support and opportunities. His voice carried conviction, but there was something almost rehearsed about it. He told her she could build a future in Dubai if she stayed close to him. Yet beneath the surface, Amira noticed small details that unsettled her. His phone never stopped vibrating, but he ignored it completely. His security guard lingered outside the door, as though guarding not just him, but her too. Before the night ended, Rashid gave her a gold bracelet and asked her to consider a future tied to his world. Amira returned to her hotel both exhilarated and uneasy. She told herself it was nothing, that she was lucky to have caught the attention of someone so powerful. But the unease stayed with her, like a shadow she couldn't shake. Back in Karachi, Amira's training was over, but the impression of Dubai lingered in her mind. She wore the gold bracelet Rashid had given her, though she kept it hidden under her sleeve at work. Late at night, she scrolled through her photos and remembered the quiet dinner, the promises, and the strange feeling of being pulled into something larger than herself. One evening, while sipping tea on her balcony, she posted a new photo on Facebook. In it, she wore a bright scarf and smiled faintly at the camera. Beneath the image, she typed a short caption, "Some people change your life in just one meeting." It was innocent in her eyes, a reflection of how extraordinary her trip had felt. She never mentioned Rashid's name. She didn't need to. Her friends immediately filled the comments with teasing guesses. Some asked if she had met someone special. Others laughed and demanded details. The post spread quickly, shared among her circle until even strangers were reacting. Within a few hours, it had gathered more attention than anything she had posted before. Amira enjoyed the sudden flood of engagement. For once, she felt noticed. She believed it was harmless fun, just her way of capturing a moment of hope. But hundreds of miles away, Rashid saw the post with different eyes. To him, the words weren't sweet or innocent. They were a risk. He lived in a world built on secrecy, where even whispers could unravel carefully constructed walls. Her caption was vague, yet it suggested too much. It hinted at something he could not afford to let anyone connect to his name. From that moment on, Amira's fate was no longer in her hands. The post had set something into motion she could not undo. The days following the Facebook post felt strangely different for Amira. At first, it was only a slight unease, the sensation of being watched when she walked home from the hospital late at night. The narrow streets she had traveled countless times now seemed filled with shadows. She told herself it was her imagination, but the feeling grew harder to dismiss. Soon, the signs became harder to ignore. A white car often appeared near her building, parked at odd hours. Sometimes it followed her partway to work before disappearing. At the hospital, she opened her locker one evening and found the lock broken. Nothing was missing, but her personal belongings had been disturbed, shifted in small ways only she would notice. Online, the warnings began to arrive. Anonymous accounts sent her brief messages. Delete the post. You don't know who you're dealing with. Be careful. The words unsettled her, but she brushed them aside, convincing herself they were harmless trolls. She had worked too hard to let fear dictate her life, and in her mind, the post was innocent. Removing it would feel like admitting she had done something wrong. Her family noticed the changes too. Amira grew quieter at home, eating little and staying awake long into the night. She spent hours scrolling her feed, checking comments, and wondering if she had somehow crossed an invisible line. Yet she still held firm. The bracelet from Rashid stayed hidden under her sleeve, the post remained untouched, and her daily life continued outwardly the same. What Amira couldn't see was that the pressure around her was tightening. She was no longer just a nurse with a hopeful dream. She had become a risk to someone who would stop at nothing to erase it. The message arrived late in the evening, just as Amira was preparing for bed. The sender claimed to represent a Dubai-based medical foundation, offering her a chance to attend an exclusive dinner for healthcare professionals. The tone was professional, the details precise, even including a venue and a dress code. To Amira, it felt like an unexpected blessing, an opportunity that could bring her closer to the future she had imagined. She dressed carefully the next night, choosing modest elegance over glamour, and traveled to the upscale hotel listed in the message. The building's marble lobby gleamed under soft lights, and the air smelled faintly of expensive perfume. For a moment, her nervousness gave way to excitement. She felt as though the city she had admired from afar was finally opening its doors to her. But when she approached the front desk, the receptionist frowned. There was no record of her name, no reservation under the medical foundation, and no event scheduled for the evening. Confused, Amira stepped aside and checked the message again, scrolling through the words as though she might have misread them. Everything looked legitimate. She lingered in the lobby, scanning the room, hoping to see someone familiar. A man in a dark suit stood near the entrance, watching her with unreadable eyes, but when she turned toward him, he looked away. Uneasy, Amira left the hotel and returned home, convincing herself it was just a misunderstanding. She didn't realize the dinner had never been real. The invitation was not meant to honor her, but to measure her response, to test how far she would go, and to let unseen eyes study her every move. The net around her had just tightened. The last day of Amira's life began like any other. She worked her shift at the hospital, tending to patients with her usual quiet dedication. Colleagues noticed she seemed distracted, her phone buzzing more than usual, but she brushed off their concern. By evening, she looked exhausted, yet there was a restlessness in her movements, as though she sensed something waiting just beyond her sight. When her shift ended, she was seen leaving the hospital gates with a tall man in a dark suit. Witnesses later said she appeared hesitant, glancing over her shoulder as if she might turn back. But she didn't. The man guided her toward a waiting car parked on the side street. The vehicle pulled away smoothly, blending into the night traffic. Hours later, her phone was discovered inside a taxi, abandoned on the back seat. The driver reported that a passenger had hurriedly tossed it aside before vanishing into the crowd. Investigators would later find that her final action on the device was an unfinished attempt to delete the Facebook post, the one that had started everything. The search for Amira stretched into the night, but it was already too late. By dawn, her body was found on the outskirts of the city, lying in a desolate area where few people passed. At first glance, the scene suggested robbery, her handbag discarded nearby, her clothing torn. Yet her gold bracelet, phone case, and cash remained untouched. What struck investigators most was the precision. There were no fingerprints, no evidence, no mistakes. It was a staged ending, carefully arranged to erase the truth. Amira's final night had been written long before she stepped into that car. The investigation into Amira's death began with urgency, but quickly lost momentum. At first, local police treated it as a violent robbery, yet the absence of missing valuables raised doubts. Her colleagues pushed for answers. Her family pleaded for justice, but every lead seemed to vanish before it could take shape. Witnesses who had spoken confidently one day grew silent the next, claiming they had remembered little. Behind the scenes, whispers circulated. Names were mentioned, then retracted. International numbers appeared in phone records, but requests for cooperation stalled. It was as if invisible hands were pulling the strings, ensuring that nothing pointed toward anyone too powerful. Within weeks, the case file thinned, evidence was misplaced, and official statements grew vague. Online, however, Amira's story spread like fire. Friends shared her final Facebook post, the one she had tried to erase, turning it into a haunting symbol of her fate. People speculated endlessly, linking her death to the wealthy circles she had briefly touched. Screenshots of Rashid's lavish lifestyle resurfaced, but his name never appeared in the official reports. He remained untouchable, a shadow hovering just outside the reach of truth. For her family, the silence was unbearable. They buried her quietly, without the answers they desperately needed. For her followers online, the memory of her words lingered like a warning that in the digital age, even the smallest expression could draw dangerous attention. Amira's story never found justice, but it refused to disappear. Her smiling photo and cryptic caption remained frozen on her page, a reminder that a single post, written in innocence, had shattered the fragile line between hope and peril. Her fate was sealed not by her choices alone, but by the secrets she had unknowingly exposed.